I never thought my life would come to this. 8 months pregnant, I stood my ground, refusing to give my husband $50,000 for a car, and in an instant, his rage exploded. Before I could react, he grabbed a wooden stick and struck me with full force, sending a blinding shock of pain through my body. I stumbled, lost balance, and crashed onto the floor, a sharp, unbearable pain tearing through my pregnant belly, and what happened next was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. Hello, my name is Elena Harper, and I am 31 years old. If you had asked me 5 years ago what my life would look like today, I would have told you a completely different story. I would have said that I was happily married to a man I loved, that I had a stable career, and that things were only going to get better. But life doesn't always go the way we plan, does it? I built my career in corporate marketing, working hard to climb my way up the ladder. I had always been ambitious, determined to create a good life for myself. That's when I met Ryan Miller, a man who, at the time, seemed like the perfect match. He was charming, ambitious, and full of dreams. We were young and in love, eager to build a future together. In the early years of our marriage, we both worked toward our goals. I focused on my job, while Ryan explored different career opportunities. I believed in him, I truly did. But then 2 years ago, everything changed. Ryan lost his job. At first, I didn't think much of it. The economy was tough, and I trusted that he would bounce back. I assured him that I would handle our finances until he found something stable. After all, marriage was about supporting each other in difficult times, right? But I had no idea that this would be the beginning of my downfall. At first, Ryan seemed grateful. He assured me that he was actively looking for work, applying to jobs, and even considering business ideas. I believed him. Every month, I gave him an allowance of $5,000, thinking it would help him stay afloat while he figured things out. But months passed, then a year, then another. Slowly, things started to change. Ryan stopped looking for work. He became comfortable with doing nothing. He stayed home all day, sleeping in, watching TV, ordering expensive takeout, and making unnecessary online purchases, all with my money. I would come home exhausted from a long day at the office, only to find him lounging on the couch as if he had no responsibilities. If I tried to talk to him about getting a job, he always had an excuse. The job market is bad. No one is hiring. I need time to figure out my next move.
It was always something.
I started feeling less like a wife and more like a provider, or worse, a bank account that Ryan had unlimited access to.
But still, I held on.
I kept believing this was just a rough patch, that one day, things would go back to normal. I had no idea how much worse it was going to get. It happened on a Tuesday morning, a day that should have been just like any other. For the past few weeks, I had been feeling strange. I was constantly tired, even after a full night's sleep. I felt lightheaded at work, and certain foods I once loved now made my stomach turn. At first, I thought it was just stress. After all, I was managing a demanding job and a husband who contributed nothing to our household. But then, my period was late. I tried not to panic. My cycle had always been regular, so a missed period wasn't something I could ignore. That morning, before heading to the office, I bought a pregnancy test from the pharmacy. I didn't even tell Ryan. I just wanted to be sure before saying anything. The moment I saw the 2 pink lines, my breath caught in my throat. I was pregnant. A rush of emotions hit me all at once.
Shock.
Disbelief.
Fear. Hope.
This was completely unexpected, but somewhere deep down, I felt a flicker of happiness. Maybe, just maybe, this baby would be the start of something better. A wake-up call for Ryan to change, to step up and finally take responsibility. I couldn't keep it to myself. That evening, I sat Ryan down and told him the news. I'm pregnant. I expected joy,
Excitement.
a promise to do better. But instead, Ryan just stared at me, his face blank, as if I had just told him something completely insignificant. Are you sure? He asked, his tone flat. Yes, I took a test this morning. He leaned back on the couch, rubbing his temple. I guess that means more expenses. My stomach dropped. That was his first thought. Not excitement, not happiness, just money? Ryan, we're going to have a baby, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. We need to start preparing, doctor's visits, saving up, thinking about our future.
He scoffed.
You're acting like I don't already have enough stress. You know I've been trying to figure things out. Figure things out? He hadn't lifted a finger in over a year. I felt my hope crumble. I had thought this would be the moment that would finally push him to change, to get a job, to contribute, to be a husband, and soon a father. But deep down, I knew nothing was going to change. My pregnancy progressed, and with each passing month, my responsibilities doubled, not just at work, but at home. Ryan did nothing to support me. He didn't help with doctor's appointments. He didn't ask how I was feeling. He didn't even acknowledge the fact that I was carrying his child. Instead, he became even lazier. I was the one working long hours, paying for medical checkups, setting money aside for the baby, while he sat at home, spending my money. Some days, he didn't even ask me how I was doing. At 6 months pregnant, I was exhausted. My back hurt all the time, my feet were swollen, and I was struggling to juggle work and home life. I needed support, but Ryan wasn't interested in anything except himself. The only time he ever spoke about money was when he wanted more. That's when he asked me for $15,000 to buy a motorcycle. I was shocked, but at that point I was too tired to fight. I thought, fine. Maybe this will make him happy. Maybe this will keep him satisfied for a while. So I bought him the motorcycle, hoping he would finally stop making demands. I was wrong. 2 months later, I was 8 months pregnant, struggling to even walk properly without my back aching. I was counting down the days until I could finally hold my baby in my arms. But Ryan? He had another demand. One evening, after I came home from work, he casually said, "I need $50,000. I blinked, confused. For what? He leaned forward. "I want to buy a car. Something respectable." I stared at him, trying to process his words. A car? After I just bought him a motorcycle? After I've been the only one paying for everything? Something inside me snapped. Are you serious, Ryan? I'm weeks away from giving birth, and you're asking me for money again? For a car?
His jaw tightened.
What's the big deal? You're making good money. I should be able to have nice things too. Nice things? My voice cracked. You don't even have a job, Ryan. I've been working myself to exhaustion while you sit here, doing nothing. I'm done. I'm not giving you another penny. That was the moment I saw it. Rage flashing in his eyes. Before I could react, he grabbed the hurling stick from his college days, the same one he always kept as a memory, and swung it at me with full force. Pain exploded through my body as I collapsed to the ground, clutching my stomach. A sharp, unbearable pain shot through me, and for the first time in my life, I felt real fear. Was my baby okay? My vision blurred, my heartbeat pounded in my ears, and I gasped for air. I could barely register what was happening when Ryan suddenly froze. His breathing was heavy, his hands shaking as he realized what he had done. And then, just like that, he panicked and ran. He left me there, on the cold floor, struggling to breathe, terrified for my baby. Pain tore through my body as I lay on the cold floor, gasping for air. My hands instinctively clutched my belly, my mind racing with one terrifying thought. Was my baby still okay? I tried to move, but every slight motion sent sharp waves of pain through my ribs. My breathing was uneven, my vision blurred, and the room felt like it was spinning. I had to get help. I turned my head slowly, searching for my phone. It had fallen just a few feet away when I collapsed. I gritted my teeth and forced myself to move, inching toward it with trembling hands. Every movement was agonizing, but I couldn't stop. Finally, my fingers brushed against the phone. With what little strength I had left, I grabbed it and unlocked the screen. I knew exactly who to call, Nathan Brooks, my best friend. Nathan had been my closest friend for years, someone I could always rely on. He had always seen the truth about Ryan, even when I refused to. He had warned me, tried to make me see that I deserved better, but I had been too blind, too hopeful. Now, as I struggled to dial his number, I prayed he would pick up. The phone rang once, twice. Then his voice came through the speaker. "Elena? Hey, what's?" I gasped, cutting him off. "Nathan, please help me." My voice was barely a whisper, weak and shaky. There was a sharp pause. "Elena? What happened? Are you okay?" "Ryan, he hit me. My throat tightened as I tried to form words. "I'm in pain. I don't know if the baby is okay. Please, Nathan, I need help." I heard a sharp intake of breath on the other end. "Where are you? Are you home?" Yes. "I'm on my way. Stay with me, okay? Just hold on." His voice was urgent, filled with worry, but I knew Nathan. When he made a promise, he never broke it. I let the phone slip from my hand, my body too weak to hold it any longer. I just had to hold on. Minutes felt like hours. The pain in my side was unbearable, and fear gripped me like never before. I kept my hands protectively over my belly, silently pleading, "Please, baby, stay with me." Then, footsteps. A door burst open, and suddenly, Nathan was there. His face was tight with panic as he rushed to my side. "Oh my God, Elena." His hands hovered over me as if afraid to touch me, afraid I would break. His eyes darted to my stomach. "We need to get you to a hospital. Right now." I nodded weakly, barely able to keep my eyes open. Nathan wasted no time. He carefully lifted me into his arms, holding me as if I were made of glass. I let my head rest against his chest, safe, but still terrified. Everything was a blur, the car ride, the sirens, the hospital lights. My body felt heavy, and exhaustion threatened to pull me under. But then I heard a voice. "Elena, stay with me. You're going to be okay." "Nathan." I held on to that voice, refusing to let go. The next time I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital bed. The bright fluorescent lights made me squint, and everything felt too loud, too overwhelming. My body ached all over, and the pain in my ribs made it hard to breathe. Then I remembered. The baby. I sat up too quickly, ignoring the sharp pain in my side. My heart pounded as I reached for my stomach. Was my baby okay? Before I could panic, a voice spoke. "Elena." I turned my head to see a doctor standing beside me, flipping through a chart. "Your baby is safe." A sob of relief escaped my lips. "Oh, thank God." I leaned back against the pillows, my entire body shaking. The doctor gave me a reassuring smile. "You have a fractured rib and some bruising, but thankfully, the baby wasn't harmed. You're very lucky." Lucky. That word felt strange. I didn't feel lucky. I felt broken. Before I could say anything else, the door swung open again. "Nathan." He rushed inside, his face still filled with worry. "Elena." His voice was soft, but the way he said my name made my chest tighten. "I called the police." I blinked. "You did?" He nodded. "You need to report this, Elena. Ryan can't get away with this." I swallowed hard. I had spent years making excuses for Ryan, convincing myself that things would get better. But now, lying in a hospital bed, bruised and in pain, I knew the truth. Things would never get better. I had to stop this. Not just for me, but for my child. I took a deep breath. "I'll give my statement." Nathan gave a firm nod and squeezed my hand. "I'm right here." A few minutes later, a police officer entered the room. His face was serious but kind. He pulled out a notepad and pen. "Ms. Harper, I understand that you were attacked. Can you tell me exactly what happened?" I swallowed, my hands gripping the blanket tightly. This was it. No more excuses. No more pretending. I told him everything. The next morning, the police called back. "We have Ryan in custody." Hearing those words sent a wave of relief and fear through me. Relief because he was finally caught. Fear because I didn't know what he would do next. But Nathan didn't let me spiral into doubt. He stood by me, pushing me to fight back. I pressed charges. I filed for divorce. Nathan helped me find the best lawyers, ensuring that Ryan would face justice. And as I lay in my hospital bed, recovering from the injuries he gave me, I realized something. I was finally taking control of my life. And this time, I wasn't alone. The day after Ryan's arrest, I was discharged from the hospital. Nathan insisted on taking me to his apartment instead of letting me go home alone. "You are not going back there until we know for sure that he's locked away for good," Nathan said firmly. I didn't argue. I was too weak, too exhausted, and too emotionally drained to even think about stepping back into that house, the place where he hurt me. But I wasn't going to sit and wait. I was done being a victim. Nathan worked tirelessly to help me build my case. He had contacts in the legal field and made sure I got the best lawyer available. Within days, my legal team had gathered all the necessary evidence. Medical reports showing my fractured rib and bruises. Doctors' confirmation that my baby could have been harmed. Police reports confirming Ryan's attempt to flee the scene. Financial records proving how Ryan had been manipulating me for years. Testimonies from friends and neighbors who had seen his irresponsible behavior. Everything was stacked against him. Then came the divorce papers. I wanted them served to Ryan while he was still in custody. I wanted him to know that this was the end. No more second chances. No more control over my life. The day my lawyer handed me the finalized divorce petition, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: relief. But there was still one more battle to fight: the courtroom trial. The day of the trial arrived faster than I expected. I sat in the courtroom, my hands clenched together, trying to steady my breathing. The room was cold, sterile, and filled with people: lawyers, reporters, and strangers who knew nothing about my pain. But my eyes weren't on them. They were on him. Ryan sat in the defendant's chair, his usual arrogance gone. His once neatly styled hair was unkempt, his shirt slightly wrinkled. But despite his disheveled appearance, his eyes still held the same entitlement, as if he believed he would somehow get away with this. He wouldn't. I wasn't the same woman who once made excuses for him. I wasn't his provider anymore. I was here to make sure he never had the chance to hurt me or my child again. The prosecution laid out the case in front of the judge, presenting all the evidence piece by piece. Financial abuse, years of taking money from me, refusing to work, and making constant demands. Emotional manipulation, the psychological toll his neglect had taken on me. Physical assault, the brutal attack that left me injured and put my unborn child at risk. The medical reports were displayed, proving that my ribs had been fractured. The police report showed his immediate attempt to flee the scene, proving his guilt. Even the recordings of his threats, the ones he made over the phone after I filed for divorce, were played for the court. Ryan's lawyer tried to spin the situation. My client acted in a moment of emotional distress, his lawyer argued. He had no prior history of violence. This was an isolated incident, and he deeply regrets his actions. I almost laughed. Isolated? Years of emotional neglect, financial control, and then nearly beating me while I was pregnant? This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was who he had always been. Then came my turn to testify. I stood up, took a deep breath, and faced the judge. For years, I gave him everything. I said, my voice steady. My love, my trust, my financial support. And the first time I said no, he beat me. The courtroom fell silent. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay strong. He didn't just hurt me. He could have killed our child. If I hadn't fought to stay conscious, if I hadn't called for help, I don't even know if I would be standing here today. I looked directly at Ryan. He didn't meet my gaze. That man sitting there is not a victim. He is a coward. And I will not spend another second of my life fearing him. When I finished, I exhaled, my hands trembling. I felt Nathan's presence behind me, solid and steady, a reminder that I was not alone. The judge listened to both sides before delivering the verdict.
Guilty.
Ryan's face barely changed, but I saw it, the flicker of shock in his eyes. Maybe for the first time, he realized that he wasn't invincible. Then came the sentencing. The judge didn't hold back. Ryan was sentenced to a long-term prison sentence, with no chance of early release. He would never be able to hurt me or my child again. As the guards led him away, he turned back one last time. No apology. No remorse. But I didn't need it. He was nothing to me now. I won. A few weeks after the trial, my divorce was finalized. I stared at the papers in my hands, reading and rereading the words that made it official. I was no longer Elena Miller, the woman trapped in a toxic marriage. I was Elena Harper, a woman who had fought her way out of the darkness. Ryan was nothing but a chapter one had closed forever. Nathan was by my side through it all. He had sat beside me in every legal meeting, made sure I was safe, and reminded me over and over again that I wasn't alone. But the biggest moment of all? Exactly 9 months after I first found out I was pregnant, after all the pain, after all the battles, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. The moment I held her in my arms, everything else disappeared. She was tiny, delicate, and perfect. Her fingers curled around mine, and her soft brown curls reminded me so much of myself. But her eyes were pure and full of life, untouched by the past. Nathan stood beside me, his face filled with something I had never seen before. Awe. "She's incredible, Elena," he whispered. "She's lucky to have you as her mother." Tears welled up in my eyes. I think I'm the lucky one. Nathan had been there for me when I needed him the most. He had fought for me, protected me, and reminded me of my own strength when I felt like I had none left. Somewhere along the way, our friendship had changed. It wasn't just comfort anymore. It wasn't just loyalty. It was love. One evening, as I rocked my baby girl to sleep, Nathan stood beside me. He looked nervous, more nervous than I had ever seen him before. "Elena," he started. "I know this might not be the right time, but I have to say it. I love you. I've loved you for a long time. And I want to be here not just as a friend, but as something more." My heart pounded. He gently took my hand. "Will you give us a chance? Will you let me love you the way you deserve?" I didn't hesitate. Yes. A few months later, Nathan and I got married in a small, intimate ceremony. Not because I needed someone to save me, but because I had finally found someone who truly loved me, without conditions, without demands, without control. And together, with our daughter in our arms, we started a life that was finally filled with love, respect, and happiness.
Ryan?
He was nothing but a distant memory, a shadow of a past that no longer had any hold over me. For the first time in years, I was free. And that was enough. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more engaging content for you. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned for more amazing stories. See you in the next video.